The NFL Combine is here, and we are off to the races. You know, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the wide receivers, they did their thing yesterday. And today, it's all about those offensive linemen. It's all about those offensive linemen. That's currently going on right now. And today, we're not going to talk about the linemen. We're going to get into the quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends later on in the show. But welcome back to the Colts Brawl podcast. I am your host, Michael Terrazas, joined by me, of course, my guy, Cody Felger. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Feeling much better, so that's good. Ready to rock, man. Ready for another episode. Episode 3. Let's go.
Episode 3. Let's start it off, man. So, of course, the NFL Combine is always exciting because you get to see all the prospects up in person. You get to see what guys are made of, workouts, vertical jumps, 40s, all that you can imagine, interviews, all of it. Well, it's also a time where anyone who is anyone in the football world is in Indianapolis right now. I'm talking agents, players, Hall of Famers, networks, prospects, everyone is in there. And that tends to build up some free agency hype as well. We got an update from Chris Ballard during his interview at the Combine. Anthony Castonzo is officially returning. Well, I wouldn't probably say officially because there's no contract signed, but he has announced that Anthony Castonzo wants to keep playing. Obviously, 99% chance he's going to resign in Indianapolis. So, what are you thinking? What does this do for the Colts in general? And maybe do they still look into left tackle? Do they still want to draft that guy and have him learn under Anthony Castonzo? What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I think it certainly is obviously a huge relief for the Colts fans, everybody who follows the team and who is associated with the team. Obviously, you know, because if Anthony Castonzo goes down, man, if he's done, like that changes your draft philosophy drastically. And you know, just having him return and just having a guy that you can. You know, Chris Ballard is really candid in his press conference. Like, they don't give Anthony Castonzo a lot of help on that left side. And so just having a guy that you don't really have to help, you know, bring a tight end in to help chip or however you do it, is obviously such a huge relief. And especially if you draft a quarterback, you get a rookie in there playing. I mean, having, you know, such a difference in having, you know, arguably a top 5 left tackle as opposed to a rookie thrown into the fire there. So obviously it's just huge, and it helps you kind of address some of those positions that you need to address. You know, that'd be quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line, what have you. But obviously this is a huge domino, Michael, and just what the Colts want to do and how they can move forward. And the important thing is it keeps that continuity among that offensive line. I mean, I can't tell you, man, and you know from watching the Colts for so many years, you could not say that about their offensive line really throughout Andrew Luck's career. They did not have continuity. There was always guys coming in and out, and you just never really knew who was going to be your 5 starters week to week, it seemed like. And so this is obviously huge for that offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in football, obviously one of the Colts' strengths for sure, and bringing back Castonzo is just huge. In terms of bringing in, you know, potentially drafting a guy, I think you still should, because Ballard was really candid in saying that this is a year-to-year thing with the Castonzo. So that could honestly mean next year Castonzo, if he wants to, decides to hang it up. And so I think you have to do your due diligence, and you have the draft capital to, yes, address, you know, some of those positions of need like we talked about, but also get your left tackle of the future and even just get some depth among the offensive line. I mean, last year, the Colts did not have great depth on the offensive line, and they were fortunate, and Ballard knows this. They were fortunate to not have any really significant injuries among those 5 offensive linemen. I mean, they played every game. I mean, that is really rare in the NFL these days. And so Overall, man, it's huge. It's Castonzo's value for the Colts over the past 10 years has just been, you can't even compare it. And so he's been one of the most underappreciated left tackles, but been one of the better left tackles in the league for a long time. And I think he's consistently getting better with his age. He's kind of like fine wine, man. He's getting better as he's getting older. And so, I think that obviously this is a huge thing, but I do think you need to address that left tackle within the first 3 rounds at least, and just get a guy in there that you can start training, can learn under Castonzo. Doesn't necessarily have to play right away, but a guy that kind of can have 1 to 2 years to kind of develop. I mean, Ballard was really talking about that. He thinks it could take a year or 2 to get guys in the pipeline is kind of what he said. So it takes a couple years for some offensive linemen to really, step up their game and be good offensive linemen in the league. And I mean, we even saw that with Castonzo going in, he had a first, I would say, honestly, if you ask Colts fans around 2011, 2012, they would probably say Anthony Castonzo is not a very good left tackle, but it's just live reps and continuing to grow into that position and continue to learn. And I think that's just what you got to do. And so, if you do view Castonzo as a year-to-year thing with him, I think it would be kind of crazy, honestly, to not try to draft that left tackle this year if you can, or just draft some offensive lineman that you can develop if one of these guys indeed does go down.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that because when it comes to Anthony Castonzo, it's a good thing that he's coming back, but how long is he going to stay? I mean, if he was contemplating retirement, are we about to see a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal with the player option? I mean, we don't know the details yet. We won't know until probably March 18th or March 19th or March 20th, however long it takes for Chris Ballard and AC to get it done. But I'm with you on drafting a left tackle. I probably wouldn't say the first 3 rounds. I think the 4th or 5th round is a pretty good place to get one. I like Terrence Steele out of Texas Tech. Trey Adams might be there in the 4th round. Ezra Cleveland might be there in the 4th round. So I definitely think you have your options. So that's really it there. When it comes to continuity, it's big because I have no doubt that Anthony Castonzo is the leader of that offensive line. I was about to say defensive line. Offensive line. I believe he's the vocal leader of that line. He's the presence. He's literally like the last remaining of the original Colts team. And, Andrew Luck's gone. Clayton Gathers is about to be out. T.Y. Hilton's still there. But who else? Who else is there? So definitely that's a veteran presence that you want to keep. And I'm glad he's coming back. Another subject that literally just came out today in the last few hours ago. I'm not sure if you saw, Cody, but Eric Berry, he wants to come back, and I believe Trotter, one of these analysts for NFL Network, I believe, said that Indianapolis is the most likely destination right now for the free agent safety, Eric Berry. When I look at that, it makes sense. First off, you're going to have a need because Clayton Gathers is most likely going to be out the door. And then remember what Chris Ballard said. He wants more veteran leadership. And
Right.
Eric Berry is a guy that he knows from Kansas City who I believe he can say, look, I trust you. I know what you can do. Be there. He took a year off in 2019, with that injury in the last 2 years. He's played, I believe it's one game. Let's see. One game in 2017 and 2 games in 2018. That is pretty bad. So for him to get healthy and potentially come back, the best his body has felt in a long time, it's pretty good. What would you think about Eric Berry?
Yeah, I think that Eric Berry could potentially be a good fit for the Colts. Like for the reason that you mentioned. Obviously, Clayton Geathers probably not going to get re-signed by the Colts. And so, you need veteran leadership in there as well, which Ballard has talked about. And, you just need – the Colts played a lot of nickel last year with 3 safeties. And so I think it'd be smart, to get another guy in there that can do it. And obviously we know from Malik Hooker – he's kind of had some potential durability issues a little bit. He's missed a few games. He's been nicked up a couple times. And so just having a veteran presence in there, a guy that can slide in whenever you're in a pinch, whenever a guy's injured, I think is huge. And that's something that Ballard has talked about as far as depth goes. It would be a good depth move. The only question I would have is, would Barry want to come here and, not be a starting safety? And that would just be the biggest thing, I think, for Barry. But like you mentioned, Michael, he's played like 3 games in 2 years, and he's 31 years old. Really has not played much meaningful, NFL snaps in the last couple of years. And so, but I think it could be potentially a good move. If not, maybe he has some left in the tank, but also just some leadership and toughness that he brings and could bring to this Colts defense. And and these 2 really young safeties. I mean, Malik Hooker and Khari Willis are both, under 25. And so could potentially bring some good veteran leadership that Ballard really felt like the Colts were lacking last year. So overall, I would like the move. I think it would be a good move. I think Barry still has some in the tank. It just depends how his body reacts. And you just never know with these things. I mean, we saw that with Justin Houston last year. I mean, another former Kansas City Chief. He had one of his best years of his career. And maybe it's just something where, similar to Houston, with Barry, you limit his snap counts. You kind of have him on a pitch count because there's been injuries in the past, and you don't overwork him. He's not going to play so many snaps as he did when he was younger. And so I think it could potentially be a good move overall, and I would not hate it at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. For Eric Berry, I think he would be a welcomed addition in the locker room. I think he would be a good fit. But when it comes to starting for the Indianapolis Colts, yeah, man, Khari Willis and Malik Hooker are your starting safeties. If Eric Berry comes in, that has to be a conversation. Well, I mean, I doubt it would be a conversation because Chris Ballard is never going to say, hey, this job belongs to this person. He's about competition, man. He's not going to say that. But I definitely see Khari Willis beating out Eric Berry for that starting strong safety spot because I think Khari Willis is better fit for today's game. What I mean by that is the last time Eric Berry played a full season was in 2016. And in 2019, there was a lot of throwing the football, a lot of it. You got Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Phillip Rivers, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, endless amount of quarterbacks throwing the football all over the field. There wasn't a whole bunch of that in 2016 like there is in 2019 and going forward. So I don't know if I want to put all of that on his shoulders, but I will definitely love him in Indianapolis because that's a veteran leadership you need. That's a veteran voice. He's played a while. You get into the playoffs, and he can be leadership and experience you can rely on. So moving on from Eric Berry, another thing from Chris Ballard's press conference he talked about was, again, about free agency. The locker room is ready for a big-time free agent. I was excited when he said this. I'm just like, yes, I'm ready for it. Those are the words I'm looking for. And then a day later, just got the news yesterday that the Kansas City Chiefs will be franchise tagging Chris Jones, a guy who all of Colts Nation has been talking about and talking about and talking about. And of course, like always, we don't get the guy.
Right.
That was really disappointing to me, man. But it just didn't surprise me because I remember, I started thinking this last year when people were talking about, DeMarcus Lawrence or Frank Clark potentially getting cut from the Seahawks. D Ford potentially getting cut from the Chiefs. I remember I started saying this. When it comes to those elite pass rushers, defensive end, defensive tackle, those are rare to hit the market. Elite players like that, if you're a great contending team, if you are any team, period, you don't let that guy go. You just don't. Let's just say, for instance, the Colts take Javon Kinlaw, and he's everything that we think he would be. I could probably bet my bottom dollar that he will be an Indianapolis Colt until he's like 32 years old. Chris Ballard will not let him walk out the door. So that's not so surprising to me. So Chris Jones is off the board now. For right now, they'll use the franchise tag. Who are we looking at now? Do we turn our focus to Shelby Harris now? Javon Hargrave, Yannick Ngakoue? I think we should start looking more at Yannick. I think the focus should still be defensive tackle. But I got to admit, Chris Jones and Yannick Ngakoue was literally like the dream scenario. But Shelby Harris and Yannick Ngakoue are definitely doable. That's definitely doable, especially if Chris Ballard wants to go that route. I think that you don't have to address pass rusher in the draft then. If you get Yannick Ngakoue, or hell, like I said in the last podcast, Vic Beasley, that can take care of it right there. So who are you looking at for this? You know, what Chris Ballard says, I think it's time for a big-time free agent.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it on this podcast, and I've talked about it on another podcast too. This defensive line group, even without Chris Jones, is a good group, and it's probably where you should spend some of your money. And I think one guy that I've kind of thought about could be potentially a fit, and he's kind of been linked to the Colts actually. If Seattle does not bring him back, is Jadeveon Clowney, and it would be kind of interesting, I think, to bring him back into the AFC South now, actually on your team. And he's a player, obviously, for a former number 1 overall pick. He's, it's debatable whether or not up to the hype, but I think overall he's a good player. He's a good player, rushing the passer, but he's also a really good run defender. I think that's something that you could really tap into, and something that could really help you out a lot, at that defensive end position. And then that could kind of impact what you do, even with Jabal Sheard. Do you bring him back, or do Clowney can also stop the run pretty well? You bring him in and not bring back Sheard. And so there's a couple different things that you could do there. But if Seattle is, like you talked about, Michael, man, if they are silly enough to let him walk, I think you got to go for him, because good players like that, especially at those premium positions, pass rusher, edge rusher, they don't really hit the market a lot. So I think if he hits the market, that's definitely a player the Colts should definitely go after, no doubt. And another player I think that we're not really talking about is Eric Armstead from the 49ers. I believe he's a free agent this year. He plays defensive tackle. He could slide right into that 3 technique. Probably wouldn't command as much as some of those more high-profile players. But last year he had 10 sacks. And so he's a guy that can definitely get after the passer. He's 26 years old, so he's fairly young. He could be potentially a guy that the Colts could go after as well. So those, besides the guys that you have mentioned, those are kind of 2 guys that I have my eye on. If they, if Eric Armstead or Jadeveon Clowney are indeed become free agents, I think the Colts should definitely pounce if not one, both of them.
Man, that's actually a good point. Eric Armstead, I actually haven't even discussed him. I have thought about him. I have looked at him. But, I mean, in my opinion, I think San Francisco just might hold on to him. They just might offer him the contract, or maybe they probably should just save that contract for Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, stuff like that. But Eric Armstead would be a good addition. I think if you're looking at a pass rush, you gotta bring someone in that will complement Justin Houston. Because remember, 31 years old, just had 10 sacks, and he's not getting any fresher, especially as a pass rusher. So I think you have to get an edge rusher, hopefully in free agency, because you just have too many needs that you have to address in the draft. Even if you don't get a defensive tackle in free agency, I am fine if you get Eric Armstead, Vic Beasley, or Yannick Ngakoue in free agency, then hopefully get Javon Kinlaw or Neville Gallimore in the draft. Because
Yeah.
right now, the way it's looking right now, I mean, Jordan Love just might not make it to 13. Javon Kinlaw just might not make it to 13. So I'm starting to, find out some different mock drafts, starting to think a little bit that, okay, we're probably looking at Neville Gallimore at 34. So I definitely want to see pass rushing. You know,
Mhm.
Chris Ballard even said he obsesses over the line, the offensive line and the defensive line. And the talent that is in the free agent class on the defensive line, he's got to bring someone in. There's no way that he doesn't bring anyone in my mind. If he's that obsessed with it, you go and sign you somebody. Whether if it's
Mhm.
Yannick Ngakoue, Vic Beasley, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Shelby Harris, whoever. If you're obsessed with it, you got to go and get it.
Yeah, that's what the Colts got to do, and they have the resources to do it. They just have to do it. And I think that's wow. I sounded like Emperor Palpatine there. Wow. Anyways, no, but I think that's something that the Colts just have to do. And Chris Ballard talked about it in his press conference. He feels like now the locker room is ready, for that guy. I think it was something not in like the main press conference, but kind of like off to the side with the local media.
Mhm.
They kind of asked him about that. And that's something that Ballard has kind of said, we've had our lines in the water for a couple of these guys. I know last year they were in for a couple of those guys, Landon Collins, CJ Mosley, those type of players. But I feel like this year the Colts feel like they have the good enough locker room where they could bring in a guy that doesn't necessarily check all the boxes in terms of character, a more talented, bigger name free agent, and they have the resources to do it. So I think it would be a smart idea for them to start spending some of that money. They kind of have to. So why not spend it at the defensive line position where there's a lot of options that you can go after?
Yeah, and this is like a random thought right now, Cody. When you said CJ Mosley, I thought about like right when you said it, I remember last year when it came out that the Colts were, in line to get after CJ Mosley, and they were sort of close to getting him.
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking, I'm just like, why do we need CJ Mosley?
Right.
I started thinking about that, and that would have been a good pair, him and Darius Leonard. But this is the thought I had. What a player Anthony Walker has turned himself into.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
I think he solidified the middle linebacker position this year because he was a 7th round draft pick out of Northwestern. In his rookie year, he didn't really get that much playing time because guys like frickin' DeQuell Jackson and Antonio Morrison were taking his reps. So, and then in his second year, he starts in 2018, and then his third year was probably the best year of his career.
Mm.
That was just a random thought I just had. I had to praise Anthony Walker right there because all the shine goes to Darius Leonard, but Anthony Walker got to get some love here.
Yeah, absolutely. He does. He's been fantastic for the Colts since they drafted him in 2017. And then Bobby Okereke also, I thought, had one of the better rookie seasons last year. A player that, I think that he was overshadowed by, just how good Kari Willis was. But Bobby Okereke in his own right, he really played well, and he solidified, I think, that Sam linebacker position. So the Colts have 3 young linebackers that they can move forward with, which is tremendous. And I think that's if there's really one position the Colts probably don't need to address, it'd probably be the
It's
linebacker
linebacker.
position. But
Yep.
you never know, man. Chris Ballard has done crazier, and so I wouldn't be mad, man. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to draft linebackers, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's definitely exciting to see what the Colts are going to do with lots of draft capital this year.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to figure it out because when it comes to linebackers, I mean, we're not even we're not even discussing linebackers when it comes to needs on this team. And um, I'm just excited to figure out what in the world is going to happen with this draft. So now moving on, staying a little bit on free agents. I don't want to stay on this too long because I just think it's a load of crap. Uh, Tom Brady and Philip Rivers. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Uh, there are just so many people need to get their stuff together. There are so many reports coming out of the combine. 1 minute, the Colts have met with Tom Brady. Then Stephen Holder comes out and says that's not true. Colts have not met with Tom Brady. And then a day later, Colts are going to meet with Tom Brady. And then the very same day, oh, Philip Rivers to the Colts is likely. Oh, now Philip Rivers is being vetted by the Colts. You got people around the NFL saying Philip Rivers to the Colts is going to happen, but you have nobody from the Colts talking about Philip Rivers. This man, oh my God, this is some of the annoying stuff that I don't like to talk about. But Tom Brady, I don't want him in Indianapolis. Philip Rivers, I'm okay if it's a 1-year deal, but anything other than that, man, kick rocks.
Yeah. I know. You gotta love it, man. This time of year, all these random reporters that you'd never heard of come up with all this random things, random breaking news that half the time, most of the time, isn't even true. It's hilarious. Sometimes I just gotta laugh it off and be like, until I see an official report from the Colts, I am not gonna believe a word of what people are saying. And so it's just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of, and like you said, the Tom Brady thing, it's like Colts have met with Tom Brady's agent. Oh, wait, Colts have not met with Tom Brady's agent. It's like, okay, somebody's obviously just making stuff up at this point. You just got to laugh at it, man. And this is the type, I love the offseason, but this is the part of the year that I don't like is when people are coming up with all these random stuff and random news and, connecting the dots. Oh, the Colts have a lot of money, so they must obviously need to sign this player. They're connected to every single player, it seems like, because they have the cash. And it's silly. And I certainly can't wait till free agency happens. And so we can stop hearing about it. And when the draft happens, we can stop having all these people predict the Colts to take a wide receiver in the at 13 overall. I'm kind of sick and tired of it at this point, but it is what it is, man. Just got to kind of laugh it off at this point.
Oh my gosh, man, this stuff is just ridiculous. I'm just like, where are y'all people even getting this? I mean, even in the press conference, Chris Ballard was asked about Philip Rivers, and he literally chuckled. He literally laughed. And I've been listening to Chris Ballard long enough to know that laugh was just like, what the crap are you talking about, dude? I'm not talking about that. Like that. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, y'all need to get y'all's questions together, man. Oh my, y'all need to get y'all sources right. But like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on that nonsense. Like I said, the combine happened last night, and we had some pretty exciting things going on. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. So from what I saw in the quarterbacks, when it came to the 40s, I mean, I didn't I didn't even finish last night's draft because I had to rush here because I was watching it from behind. But the 40s, the ones I got, Justin Herbert was a 4.71. Jacob Eason was a 4.9 flat. Jake Fromm was a five. No, excuse me, was a 5.01. Jalen Hurts was a 4.64, and then Brian Lewerke from Michigan State had a 4.99. Guys that impressed me yesterday were obviously, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Jacob Eason. We all knew who these guys were, but I think I voiced it enough already that I like Anthony Gordon. And I saw some better footwork yesterday in the combine, which shows me that he's been working on that. And the accuracy, man, those downfield throws, I saw he had it. And I'm just like, wow, if those four quarterbacks, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, if they're gone by 13, the Colts can think about Anthony Gordon in the third round. when it came to Jake Fromm, he started off relatively good when it came to the underneath throws, but when it came to them corner routes, go routes, oh man, Jake Fromm had a horrible combine. He had a horrible combine. There's no way around it. I think at this point, Jalen Hurts is now above him. I have Jalen Hurts graded above Jake Fromm now. Jalen Hurts actually showed me some good stuff yesterday. I've been hard on him because I got to see a little bit of him at Alabama, then got to see a whole lot of him at Oklahoma. He plays in the same conference as my favorite team, so got to see a whole lot of him. And yesterday, I saw some improved accuracy. I saw a good arm. I saw precision passing. I saw timing. And Jalen Hurts has definitely rose up on my quarterback draft board. I do think he's probably in the Colts' mind right now. So I would go ahead and tell our Colts fans about Jalen Hurts. Get ready to hear a little bit about Jalen Hurts because in the combine, man, I just like what I saw from him. He showed me good things. Brian Lewerke, I mean, he didn't show me too much. Tua obviously didn't perform. Joe Burrow chose not to perform. I don't know why. That was a little off to me. He just chose not to participate. But that's it from the quarterback room. From what I just said, Cody, what are you thinking right now?
Oh, man, yeah, it seemed like I don't know, man. Like it's kind of a weird debate right now of like, do you take the quarterback at 13? Do you trade up for the quarterback? Do you wait till the second round or third round draft the quarterback? I don't know. I just am I'm just kind of the belief that you draft especially at the quarterback position, most hardest position. Chris Ballard has talked about it, the hardest position to play in sports. He says, not just football. I think you got to take a guy that can make the extra play, can do those kind of things, and so I guess I'm just kind of the belief of taking the quarterback early, and I would take one of those guys pretty early. Again, I wasn't able to watch the combine, but just from what I heard, it seemed like Jordan Love had a pretty good combine as well. Seems like his stock's kind of rising, so it's like, oh man, is he going to be there at 13 where the Colts sit right now? But I think, man, overall, you just got to go get your guy. I think that's what the Colts have to do, and so I wish I had more on it, but it seems like, man, it was a really interesting draft in terms of seeing some of those quarterbacks that we don't know a whole lot about. I mean, Jalen Hurts, man, he has an incredible story. Like he really does, of being benched and transferring and when just all that kind of stuff, and it's just such a cool thing to see him. I don't know a lot about like where he's projected to go though. Do you think he's probably a second round, third round pick? Where would you put him?
After yesterday's combine, yeah, he's not making it out of the second round. After yesterday's combine, he's definitely a second round pick. It's gonna be a leap to say he will be picked in the first round because I still got Jacob Eason, I got Anthony Gordon, I got those two guys graded ahead of him. But with Jalen, man, I even studied a little bit more on him, more film from college, and then added along with his combine. I think he has a chance to be a top 40 pick, not just in the later second rounds. He's earned himself a pretty good day when it comes to draft day. I think the Carolina Panthers just might be in line for him. Maybe San Diego, LA, the Chargers, maybe them. I just don't envision them not picking a quarterback at 6. But what you talked about with Jordan Love, I'm starting to hear some rumblings, man. Jordan Love, he's probably about to get graded above Justin Herbert.
But Justin Herbert did have a good day as well.
He did. He did.
Yeah,
Jordan Love just he blew. you look at his film, obviously 2018 compared to 2019, and then you look at his bowl game, look at the Senior Bowl, you look at Combine. He's performed well in all of them, and I know when I was listening to the Combine, a couple of guys were talking about, they like Jordan Love more than they like Justin Herbert, and I would not be surprised if Justin Herbert were to fall to 13 and Jordan Love was picked at, let's say 5.
Mm-hmm. There's also rumblings. I don't know if you saw this. The Redskins potentially being, suitors for a quarterback. It's crazy. But that, man, there's so many teams that could potentially take a quarterback. Oh, it's kind of stressful just thinking about it. It's like, should the Colts trade up at this point? Like, and make sure they get a guy? I mean, because is any of these guys going to be available when the Colts pick at 13? Like, it's just kind of crazy. You just don't know. And with how crazy teams are about quarterbacks, I wouldn't be shocked, man, if all those guys are gone at 13, which sounds crazy, but teams are crazy. GMs are crazy. But,
I mean,
I wouldn't. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. You wouldn't what?
I wouldn't mind if they, if they do take another player at 13 and then they go draft your guy there in the second round. I don't know what the Colts are going to do, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm going to mention this a little bit later after I say this, but a lot of this stuff, I mean, you hear about it all the time leading up to the draft. A lot of smoke screens, a lot of mixed signals. Washington is not taking a quarterback. They're not taking a quarterback. They're gonna take Chase Young because that's the smart pick. If you don't take Chase Young, then whoever is that GM should be fired. I just don't see that as a debate, unless Cincinnati happens to just miraculously take Tua, and then you say, hey, let's find a trade partner. Dwayne Haskins, you're going to so-and-so. Washington takes Joe Burrow. Now, maybe that is why they're taking these meetings with Tua and Joe, because anything can happen in the draft. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, there is a real possibility that all 4 guys, Herbert, Tua, Love, Burrow, are going to be gone in the top 8 picks, because you got Burrow at 1. The Lions, are they going to trade Matthew Stafford? Are they going to go get Tua? Because that's starting to be a rumbling conversation that's gaining more heat. And then you look at Miami. Do they get Tua? Do they go after Jordan Love? And then LA, the Chargers, they are going to go whoever's left. So that is a real discussion that they have to have. But I'm going to say this on Joe Burrow. He has rubbed me the wrong way as of late. I get it. You're the pretty boy. You're the famous guy. You're the best quarterback in the draft. But I don't understand what separates him from everybody else, for why he feels entitled that he doesn't have to go out there and perform and everybody else has. I get it. The Heisman Trophy, big time. National championship, big time. But you pulled out of the Senior Bowl because you wanted to spend time with family. I get that. But all those other prospects went up there. They have kids, family, brothers, sisters that they want to see. And then at the combine, he's just standing on the side, chomping on gum, while other guys are out there busting their ass. That's just something that didn't look good to me. I'm not trying to go on a rant here or anything, but I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know what his game plan is, because I don't follow too much of him, because he's not a guy that I think is going to obviously be there at 13. Hell, not even number 2. But I just got to get that off my chest, because watching the combine this morning, just seeing him off to the side, everybody else is throwing balls. I mean, why the hell are you even there? If you chose not to participate, don't show up. That don't make any kind of sense. And then other side notes at the combine, Tua Tagovailoa, that's still a situation that we haven't figured out yet. It's not a sports injury; it's a trauma injury, is what Daniel Jeremiah called it. And then with Thaddeus Moss, might have been wondering why he didn't perform at the combine. It's because during his physical, he had a Jones fracture in his foot. That was discovered. So he is going to be going to surgery, a 6 to 8 week process. Recovery time should be what it is. So he'll definitely be good to go for his rookie year. But those are just some side things to think about. So now with the wide receivers, look, man, it was a talented group yesterday. I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb making acrobatic catches, Henry Ruggs breaking John Ross's combine record. You got Jalen Rager showing out. You got Justin Jefferson doing great things. Denzel Mims, his stock is rising. Chase Claypool, I mean, I'm hearing comparisons to Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Wow.
I mean, to be the weight he is, to be the size he is, and I saw the way he was catching those passes, route running. Whoo-wee, man. I'm surprised. You know, when I watched him at Notre Dame, I didn't see too much. He was kind of like, I guess you could say, a Zach Pascal. You know, he'll catch the ball, he'll get open, but is there any special playmaking about him? I didn't see that too much at Notre Dame, but seeing him at the Senior Bowl, seeing him at the Combine, we're definitely seeing a lot more about Chase Claypool. His stock is rising. CeeDee Lamb, oh man, I mean, when it comes to these wide receivers, people are talking about Jerry Jeudy to the Colts because CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs, their stock is rising over him. Brandon Ayuk, this guy, I mean, he's drawing comparisons to Deebo Samuel. The wide receiver group, man, I mean, it is just crazy. Antonio Gandy Golden, that is a guy that I am really intrigued by because his route running is much better from what he showed me. He showed me he's better in the combine than what I saw in season, looking at his stats. So that's another guy the Colts can do. Are there any, receivers that you were really wondering about coming into this combine, Cody?
So I'm kind of looking at some of the guys who I thought did pretty well, kind of based off of what their performances in the combine. And I think that a guy like John Hightower out of Boise State did really well. He really he ran pretty good 44.43. Did a lot of good things. Had a really good night. And I thought that he really showed a nice catch radius, which was good. And I think that he's a guy that'll definitely probably go day 2. And that's a guy the Colts could be looking at getting. They have a decent amount of day 2 picks. And, he's a guy that really can help stretch the vertical passing game, which is something the Colts obviously lacked a ton of. And so I think he was a guy that really, brought his stock up a lot. You talked about, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, who I don't know if you saw his catch, but that was a really good catch last night. And that was, just showing, man, it's unbelievable to me. Some of these guys, just their body control is absolutely unbelievable. Just how they're able to go get those passes. It's just wild to me to watch. But man, there's like those 3 wide receivers that I'm just like, man, if the Colts could somehow swing getting one of those guys, it would be unbelievable. Lamb, Jeudy, Ruggs, any of those guys, man, they would help the Colts tremendously. And it's great that this draft class specifically is just so heavily talented and deep at the wide receiver position. That's all the Colts need, man. And I'm excited for that. I'm really excited just for – there's so many guys that I could talk about, but, I just want to say, like, holy smokes, the Colts have the Colts are in prime position. It's kind of wild to think about, man, this going back to this defensive line class, at least from a free agency standpoint, probably one of the better, free agency defensive line classes in a while. And that's a position the Colts really, really need to address. And then the wide receiver position, another position the Colts really need to address. It's pretty cool. And I hope the Colts take advantage of it because, man, this wide receiver class is just unbelievable. It's, Chris Ballard, I believe, called it an elite class. And so I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see some of these guys. And a lot of guys brought their stock up, which was good. And I can't wait to see, man, which guys the Colts grab. I think they should. Do you think they should grab multiple receivers? I kind of think that I would not be opposed if they did that.
I do think they need to grab 2 receivers because I'm not too big on signing the receivers in free agency. But I'm looking at, I did a mock draft today and I took Denzel Mims at number 75 in the 3rd round. And then I took Devin Duvernay at 142 in the 5th round. It's definitely doable because Denzel Mims, if this class wasn't that deep, Denzel Mims could be a 2nd round pick.
It's crazy.
Definitely. Jalen Reagor, he would be a top 15 pick. But this draft, it's deep, man. It's deep. And I'm starting to like more and more of Denzel Mims as he continues to build his draft stock. Because after yesterday, I know Jalen Reagor built his draft stock, so he's probably gone in the 1st round. I still cannot wait to watch the defensive linemen tomorrow at the combine. I cannot wait for it because I'm going to be studying every single person on that combine. But when it comes to the wide receivers, man, Tyler Johnson, that's another guy you can take. He's not, a fancy guy, but man, does he know how to run routes and does he know how to catch the football? He just always to be open. That's just a knack that he has. And with Chase Claypool, looking like a 3rd round pick. I thought he was a 5th round pick, but after Senior Bowl and Combine, man, dude, he is looking real good right now.
That's crazy. He's big, but he also posted the 7th best 40 time of wide receivers. Wow. That's crazy.
I know, dude. I was watching him do the 40 and he had veins popping all out of his arms. I'm like, God damn, dude. Like, you a freaking wrestler or something? What is going on here? And Chase Claypool, man. I don't know. I definitely want to see more of him though. I believe that just might be it for wide receivers. Let me see here. See if I have anything else in my notes here that I should put out there. I believe Omar Bayless from Arkansas State, 4'6", 240. KJ Hill from Ohio State, 4'6" flat. These are guys that don't too much impress me, but they are talented wide receivers. So getting to the last thing here with tight ends. Tight ends actually surprised me a little bit, but dude, this is what, I've always said, like, man, dude, I want to be a coach. I want to coach football. I get pretty amped up when I watch a football game. Hell, even a basketball game. Might even do it when I watch the Mavs and Heat tonight. But it's about attention to detail with tight ends. And in the drills yesterday, when it came to blocking the sled, which was like the first time they've had sleds, it does better because you get to see the technique of the tight end. And let me tell you this, many of them struggled in this drill because in college, tight ends are not asked to block anymore. They're not. They're asked to line up at wide receiver and go catch a pass. You saw that. Hunter Bryant struggled a little bit. Albert O kind of struggled a little bit. Bryson Hopkins actually did good on it. Cole Kmet actually did good. I don't think that surprises many because Notre Dame, they do know how to use those tight ends. Then you saw Adam Trotman, who probably had the best one, maybe. Uh, when because with the sled, you can push it back, but it's also able to be pushed up. And the coach literally kept telling every prospect, look, man, it's about attention to detail. You punch through contact and then you drive backwards. He kept telling them to not pick it up. And I swear to you, every single prospect that stepped up kept picking it up. I'm just like I'm sitting there and I'm yelling. I'm like, dude, stop picking it up. Like I almost lost it when Hunter Bryant literally went up there and picked it up. I'm just like, do you not know what do not pick it up means? Like that makes no kind of sense. That's like a little bit of if you're coachable. That's one thing that I noticed in this combine that the tight ends struggled in that part. Now, of course, in the
Yeah.
NFL, they're not going to be asked too much to block.
Right.
But with the tight ends, man, they showed good things. They showed good route running. Bryson Hopkins is every bit of the route runner I thought he was. Cole Kmet is probably the top tight end in this draft. Albert O had the fastest time of tight ends. When it came to guys to fit the bill to replace Eric Ebron, I've been saying Bryson Hopkins, Hunter Bryant, or Albert O. It was those three guys that I've been saying. And Albert O, with that speed, I definitely want him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you need, man, because you already got two blocking tight ends and Mo Alley Cox, Jack Doyle. You need a guy that's going to stretch the field. And so those three guys are definitely the kind of, the guys with the kind of skills that you're looking for at tight end. And so, but, maybe it's something, man, if the Colts draft one of those guys who didn't particularly do well in that drill, they don't ask them to do a whole lot of that. Like you mentioned, they bring in kind of what they did with Eric Ebron. They didn't ask him to block a whole lot. They just kind of, used him as obviously used him as a red zone weapon. But yeah, I can definitely see how that could be frustrating. And maybe that, maybe that's just something that they didn't understand, or maybe that's coachability, man. That's definitely something that I would not have thought of, but that's definitely an interesting thought.
I know, and I could tell on the coach's face. I mean, he wasn't getting upset because, I mean, these aren't professionals yet, and it's an interview. So you're not really going hard on him right now. But I could tell the look on his face. He's just like, good Lord, if another one of these kids pick this thing up again, I'm going to knock them out. Like, I saw it. I'm just like, I can't remember how many times he said, remember, guys, you don't pick it up, you punch through contact, and you drive through. And then Bryson Hopkins actually picked up the sled, and the coach looked at him and he said, when have you ever blocked a guy that high?
Right.
I just started busting out laughing. I'm like, unless the guy was 4'7" and you just picked him up, I'm like, I don't know what you're playing football against. But that's just like a side note that I had to put in there. I'm just like, I was frustrated during that part, and I'm just a spectator. I'm just a fan trying to study these prospects. But yeah, man, good stuff from the tight ends, though. The tight end group is actually a little bit deeper than I even thought it was. So Adam Trotman is definitely getting his name out there. He's definitely rising up draft boards. With that 40 time, Albert O, he was kind of lower than I thought he would be on the draft board. But with that 40 time, he's probably sprung himself up. So I definitely think this is the draft that you should go get a tight end. And like you said, we even mentioned it in the last podcast about Austin Hooper. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think I'm not the only one that saw those tweets from him. I think he's officially a free agent now, man. I think I would not be opposed if we got him now, because he is definitely a good tight end. And if we got him, then I think that takes off a need at tight end. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest question for me is going to be, how much does Chris Ballard, how much is he going to pay a guy like Austin Hooper? And we saw it. We talked about already, some of the guys the Colts were allegedly in with last year. And obviously the price reached a certain range and the Colts were out. And so does Ballard hold to that philosophy? And there's going to be some competition for Austin Hooper. I mean, there should be. He's a good tight end. But I certainly think that, if you don't spend a ton going after a defensive lineman, or even if you do, that's a good option. Him or Hunter Henry. I know Henry's a little bit more like, I don't know, because of some of the injury history, but it could definitely, man, help you out, and you have the resources to get him. I think it could definitely help you out and help you address other positions as well. And that's just something that I've always kind of held the belief of is like, okay, you could go draft a guy in the third, fourth round, but why not go sign a guy that's proven that he can do it? The kind of guy that proves that he can make plays like Austin Hooper. He's going to cost you something, but man, he's proven that he can be, a really, really good tight end in this league. And so, pairing him with Jack Doyle would certainly be something, man, that I would be on board with. But the question just remains, is Chris Ballard going to be willing to dish out some money for him?
Dude, I don't know if you've been on Twitter today, but I literally just got an update about Mekhi Becton, this 6'7" left tackle, 364 pounds. Apparently, he ran a 5'10" 40.
Wow. Dang.
That is insane, dude. 6'7", 364 pounds. And I even tweeted it out. That's a top 5 pick right there. I mean, he just asserted himself as the top tackle. I mean, forget Andrew Thomas. Mekhi Becton now, that is insane. And then there was a tweet that I saw from a New York Jets fan that said that's good speed to track down Sam Darnold interceptions.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man,
That's
it's
true.
all good fun, man. But as far as the draft goes, man, that's all we have for you guys right now when it comes to the draft. When we come back, we're going to talk about all the linemen, the secondary, potentially kickers, because we do know kickers is still a little bit of a question mark for the Colts. I'm excited to do the defensive linemen. And before we get out of here, guys, we want to make a special announcement. So the network that Cody and I are doing this podcast for, the Brawl Network, they're having their launch on March 1st. And I believe that's a Sunday, right, Cody?
March 1st. I think so. Yes, Sunday.
Yes, Sunday. They're having their launch, guys. And we would be very appreciated if all of you on Sunday could tweet out hashtag Brawl Network. It's definitely something we're hoping to make big. That they have podcast articles, they have a Twitter page for all teams. And, we're trying to get this, to the best to where it can. And if you want to add anything, Cody, you can.
Yeah, I'm excited, man, for this launch. I'm excited for just where the Brawl Network is going to go. Excited to be a part of it. It definitely seems like they got the right people in place that know what they're doing, and so I'm really excited, man, just to see, man, where this network goes, and very honored, obviously, to be a part of this. I'm excited for the future of what's going to happen. And so, yeah, man, we'd love your guys' support, just supporting this. We already have people supporting this podcast, which we obviously are very thankful for. But just excited, man, for just what this network's going to do and just how we're going to continue to, provide quality content for our listeners. And so I'm pumped, man.
I am too, dude. And just one last thing for you guys. If you are Colts fans, your friends are Colts fans, your family, your cousins, whoever, please, show us to them. Not even just the Colts Brawl, but just the Brawl Network in general. Get it out there. There's podcasts for the Broncos, Vikings, all of it. And there's going to be articles up on the website that you can look at March 1st. And guys, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this without you. This is why we do it. If y'all weren't here, it would just be two goofy guys just talking to each other about football. I mean, that's all it would be. So we're very thankful for all you guys that listen in, that tune in, that followed Cody to the Colts Brawl, that followed me to the Colts Brawl. And hopefully we all continue to follow each other. Like me and Cody talked about in the first episode, we want to be the best at giving you guys the best content possible, the best quality content. And we still stand by that. We're still motivated, and we just want to continue to get better. So anything else, Cody?
No, I think you touched on it, man. I agree with all that. We want to be the best that we can be, and definitely want to provide the best content that we can and be I'm just really excited, man. It's been a fun 3 episodes, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for the Colts Brawl.
Awesome, man. Well, if you don't have anything, I don't have anything else either. He is Cody Felger. I am Michael Terrazas. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Colts Brawl.